There's a saying you'll hear about the North Country's downtowns. We built with our backs to the water. Most villages have a river running right through them, but few take advantage of that. In many of them, it's the opposite. The main street kind of hides the riverfront. For example, it's easy to forget that the Saranac River runs right through downtown Saranac Lake. There's a newish river walk, but it's not heavily used. A group is trying to change that by making the river a haven for paddlers, whitewater and flatwater, and in doing so, reorient the village towards the river. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, November 20th. First up, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand says she wants to find ways to work with Republicans in the next Congress. Speaking in Canton Monday, the Democrat said she's planning to find bipartisan ways to legislate during the second Trump administration to help New York.
I will find strong Republicans to do work with in the Senate. I will find coalitions in the House to work with as well, and I will hopefully continue to deliver for the North Country.
Republicans will hold the Senate, the House, and the White House starting in January. Gillibrand was also asked about the special congressional election that will likely take place in the North Country next year. President-elect Donald Trump tapped longtime North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik to become his ambassador to the United Nations. Gillibrand said that in order for Democrats to flip that seat, they need to employ some of the strategies that won them battleground districts in downstate New York earlier this month.
I think Democrats need to organize the community well to make sure voters understand what we're fighting for, and so that we can listen to voters and understand what they want us to be fighting for. And the combination of that creates better candidates, better messaging, and better campaigns.
Gillibrand was at SUNY Canton on Monday to promote federally funded cyber security scholarships. NCPR intern Zach Jaworski reports on that.
SUNY Canton is one of 24 schools in New York State currently part of the Cyber Service Academy. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand helped establish the program alongside other senators.
It's a scholarship program to create a pipeline of cybersecurity professionals and bolster our national security.
It's funded by the Department of Defense and offers students full rides to college in exchange for work in government cybersecurity jobs. There are around 30,000 such jobs currently vacant in the DoD.
Most of our SUNY schools are geared towards employability. This is a great way to have your college education paid for and to walk straight into any of these very high-powered jobs.
Gillibrand says recent Chinese hacks targeting President-elect Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and current Vice President Kamala Harris are part of why those jobs need to be filled.
Events like these are deeply, deeply disturbing, especially in the middle of election when concerns about foreign interference and malign foreign influence are already very high. But right now, we just don't have enough cybersecurity professionals in federal, state, and local government to adequately address this growing threat.
Last year, the program received fewer applicants than it had scholarships open. Gillibrand hopes that more awareness will help bolster those numbers. St. Lawrence University and Clarkson University are currently applying to be part of the Cyber Service Academy program as well. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Zach Jaworski in Canton.
North Country residents will get the chance to weigh in on the state's plan to expand its renewable energy resources. The New York Power Authority will hold virtual public hearings tomorrow on its draft plan from 10 a.m. to noon and from 6 to 8 p.m. Those who wish to watch the hearings can tune in virtually or attend in person at the Hawkins Point Visitor Center in Messina. Speakers must register ahead of time and use their own devices to speak. NYPA's draft plan identifies 40 proposed projects that could generate more than 3.5 gigawatts of power. They include several solar projects and a battery energy storage system project in the North Country. We have more information on how to participate in the hearings on our website, ncpr.org. In places like Colorado and Utah, many mountain communities have a river running through the town and a whitewater park built around that river. It attracts paddlers and spectators and can be an economic driver. A group of paddlers in Saranac Lake would like to see a park like that built in their mountain town. They've been working towards that goal for years, but the project has encountered a lot of roadblocks and setbacks. But as Amy Feiereisel reports, it recently got back on track.
Just a few hundred yards downriver from the dam in Saranac Lake, under the Route 3 bridge out of town, the Saranac River is hemmed in by straight cement walls. It's not the most inviting spot.
I guess I've been on the river walk a couple of times, but it always feels like a back alley that's like tucked away.
That's Dakin Henderson. He lives in Saranac Lake.
Any attempt to improve that section of river is a good idea.
Henderson was one of about 50 people who showed up at a meeting in early November at the Saranac Lake Free Library. It was about the proposed Booth River Park, which would transform the area under the bridge by making it easier to access, replacing the walls with stepped boulders, and putting in a beginner whitewater standing wave.
I'm not that interested in the surfing part of it. I think it's cool, but I don't know if I'm going to use that. But I think it would be cool to turn that area into a park.
Transforming this space into a town asset is the real goal.
We kind of feel it's a neglected part of town right now.
Scott McKim has been pushing this project forward for years.
Adirondacks are known for their outdoors, and somewhat ironically, we turn preferably a blind eye to the river that runs right through the middle of town. So this is kind of an effort to revitalize what that is.
A little backstory. About 6 years ago, Saranac Lake was awarded $10 million through New York's Downtown Revitalization Initiative, or DRI. One of the projects chosen was this whitewater park in downtown Saranac Lake, and there was a lot of excitement around it. Then COVID hit. The fiscal sponsor for the project changed, and this spring, things finally got moving again. That's why people were gathered at the library.
Ideally, we want your feedback on the designs where we currently have the project. This is the point.
There are blown-up posters around the room illustrating the river area and showing the park's proposed design. Folks are asking questions and writing down suggestions. There are lots of people from the paddling world. 26-year-old Amelia Dragone works in downtown Saranac Lake.
So I'm actually really excited because it's going to be a great way to just get out after work. I'm not going to have to necessarily go drive 20 or 30 minutes to go just run some laps on permanent rapids or something like that.
Dragone works for St. Regis Canoe Outfitters, which is located just a few hundred yards downriver from the proposed park. She's here with a bunch of other employees and the owners. They already use this area under the bridge for teaching, but Dragone says the new park would really expand access and make it a lot friendlier for people looking to fish or boogie board or try whitewater for the first time.
The ease of entry level this will be at, it's gonna be more inviting to people who maybe haven't dabbled in moving water previously.
That's actually what the area used to be in the late 90s and early 2000s. Jim Sawsville was behind the original whitewater park under the bridge back then. They put a bunch of rocks in the river, and it lasted for about 8 years or so.
Then a bunch of hurricanes came along and washed out the small objects that we had manually put in the river. They weren't big enough to hold against a big current. Some of the features are still there, and it's still usable, and it has been, a great teaching tool for 25, 30 years now.
Sawsville is thrilled about the proposed more permanent park, which would broaden that teaching tool. Scott McKim, who gave the presentation, talked a lot about river access for the kids of Saranac Lake, helping to make them paddlers and environmental stewards when they grow up. Public awareness and excitement for the project are just as important as design feedback, because if Booth River Park is going to become reality, McKim says it needs more money.
So we're well short of what we need to make this happen. We have enough to get through design and permitting, but we don't have enough to finish construction.
The DRI funds only cover so much, especially after 6 years of inflation. McKim says they've got $400,000, but they need more like $1 million.
We realize it's a pretty big lift, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Tonight's a peek into how public projects make it, or don't, from an idea to the finish line. Vibrant, exciting communities don't just spring from nothing. There are people working to make them that way. McKim says they hope to start construction in 2028. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio in Saranac Lake.
You can find photos of the proposed river park in the online story at ncpr.org, as well as links to more detailed designs and a feedback survey. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Alan Dunham of South Glens Falls and Martha Gallagher of Keene. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.